Buddy, welcome back. My name is Amsa Venktesan and I'm an IELTS trainer with over 5 plus years experience and have trained close to 750 students across the globe. Well, in this session today, we will be talking all about the IELTS general reading, which is your actually this is supposed to be your IELTS academic reading. So where we talk about your identifying writer's views. The reason why I was telling you IELTS general reading is because we have been doing a lot of sessions on the IELTS academic reading on both the Plus and Academy Plus and this free platform. And we have started recently with identifying writers' views of claims as well, which will happen today, right after this YouTube session. All right, great. So, the topic, which is identifying information which is your true false not given, is the same as your identifying writer's views, which is yes no not given. So if you have realized, so quickly in this session today we will understand the reading task in detail. We will see the types of questions to be covered, how this task is scored, how you can analyze yes no not given type of questions, some useful points to consider, and some advanced techniques as well. I also have a few questions that we will solve probably today that we will take a look at. As you know, in the IELTS, your reading task, you will have 60 minutes duration to answer 40 questions. The purpose of this question, especially that we will work on, is to basically identify your writer's views or claims, which is your yes, no, not given type of a question. So ignore the statement, all right? So, the few types of questions that you can find in terms of your reading passage is you will have what's called matching headings or titles in the paragraph, where you will actually have a heading and a title which is given to you, a heading or a title which is given to you. So you will read paragraphs and you will match the options given to you with the passage given to you. So you'll have to basically give it a title. In terms of identifying information, which is your true, false, not given, you will be given passages, you'll be given sentences. You have to identify whether the sentence is true or false or not given. Similarly, you will have what's called identifying writer's views. That's the hero of the topic today, the actual topic today, where we will talk about yes, no, not given question types. So if you see, there is a common strategy for doing both your true false not given and your yes no not given. If you ask me how, in the general reading is where you will do identifying information, true false not given, and in the academic you'll do what's called identifying writers views or claims, which is your actual yes no not given question. Okay, so in this case the strategy for both of these are same, because true changes to yes, false changes to no, and not given is pretty much not given. So here you will identify just an information, but in academic you will identify writers views or claims, and I will tell you how to do this in strategy when you go forward in actual session. But for now, the other type of question that we will encounter is matching paragraph information. Okay, then we have what's called summary completion, sentence completion, short answer questions, note or table completion, flowchart completion, diagram labeling, multiple choice or list selection, and matching sentence headings. Before we get into a deeper look into how each of these looks, you have to identify how this particular task is scored or how it's taken into assessment. Um, as an IELTS trainer, and after listening to so many answers from students repeatedly every day, even when I do these sessions, most common question that students ask me is, how do I remember what the band scores are, or how the number of right answers that you might have to get to achieve the band scores? Well, for that, all that I will let you know is, do not think about band scores. Think about the number of right answers that you might have to get, although band scores is your target, requirement. You might think, all right, I need a band score of 9, or I need to achieve a band score of 8. But to achieve that, how many right answers do you think you might need to have? Because you are not the one, giving you the band scores. Instead, it's someone else, the examiner, who gives you the band scores, and you have the control on only identifying the number of right answers that you can do. I would recommend always targeting anywhere between 7.5 to 9 bands, and anything less than that, there's not even a point in trying out. That's what I would say, because you also have now the chance of going to Unacademy Plus, which is a platform where we do all our paid sessions. I have been doing a lot of sessions which have been like an hour long, 2 hours long, with deeper strategies. We do every single question step by step, and we sit together, we discuss the answers. So after having an amazing platform like this, and if you have still not subscribed, you have to highly subscribe to Unacademy Plus, purchase a subscription, see how it's working well for you. And even if you're doing your test for the first time, I would not recommend going anything below 7, even if you have not started your training with an academy or with any tutor for that matter. Here is that you have to, if you have at least started training yourself, I can say that when you get into an academy, you get anywhere between 7.5 to 9 bands, because that's the kind of training that we do inside, and that's the kind of intensity and the rigorous training that you have at that point. And also, even if you are somebody with basic English, we still tell you what to improve, so you can definitely see an improvement. All right, you can as well see scores that goes from 7. If you've just got a 6 bands, you can definitely see an improvement up to 7 bands, because that's the kind of training that we give inside. It's not just the training, it's also your part where you do the training yourself. See through the videos over and over again and ask us questions, do as many questions as possible, send the questions through an academy app, and we're always here to evaluate things for you and get it done for you. All right, quickly for you to take a look at this. So this is how matching headings question look, where you have a list of headings given to you and the passages. You will have A, B, C, D passages here. You will read it. You will see which of these headings would match each of the paragraph and fit them here. In terms of your identifying information, which is true, false, not given, just like your yes, no, not given, you will see, you will read the paragraphs, you will read sentence number 1, you will see and check if this sentence is the same as given in the passage, or if it's a synonym or a meaning of the passage given here. If you think it matches the paragraph given here, then it's a yes or a true. If it's just the opposite of what's given, then it's a false or a no. And if you don't find any information on this, then it's a not given. It's as simple as that for both your true, false, not given and your yes, no, not given. And this is how matching paragraph information looks. Again, instead of list of headings, you will have information and you will match it to that. Summary completion is where you will have a summary, you will have some blanks, and you have to fit words either from the paragraph or from a box of options that's given to you into this. And you will have a constraint which says 1 word only, no more than 2 words, no more than 3 words, 1 word and or a number, things like that. Sentence completion is just like your summary completion with 1 word only or 2 words only, but you will have just sentences and not passages. Short answer question is where you will answer again in 1 or 2 words. Note or table flowchart completion is again where you will have a note or flowchart with blanks and you will complete it. Again, write no more than 2 words or 3 words. Diagram labeling is where you will have a diagram. There'll be options given to you in the box. You will read the passage, see the diagram, and fit these things into it. Multiple choice or list selection is again where you will read passages. You will have a question with options, or it could even be a list with drop down from where you will do this. Matching sentence headings is where you will read the actual reading passages, and you will see the sentence startings here and the sentence endings given to you. You have to orient this to which of the sentence ending can have this and put this according to the paragraph. Some useful points that I have for you at this point overall for your reading section is I want you to plan your training, your IELTS training with an academy. First of all, I would highly recommend that. If not, start planning for yourself. Try to have a calendar, schedule yourself, always schedule your test first. If you're not in a hurry, I would highly recommend you to spend at least a month or two, at least 3 months to practice, and then or 2 months to practice and then do your test in the 3rd month. If you're in a hurry, practice constantly for about 3 to 4 hours a day, at least for a month or month and a half. Do some practice tests and then do your test. If you're in need of a trainer, you have multiple trainers with Unacademy, and you can always go to Unacademy Plus. Okay. Next, don't expect to understand every single word. That's right. Especially with your reading passages, you cannot expect to understand every single word that's given in the passage. Instead, I want you to sound more realistic, which brings me to point number three, where you have to, when you read a passage, if you don't understand a particular word, it's okay to be realistic that you don't know it, except to the fact. Instead, what you can do, read the entire passage, get the gist of the passage, and then try to fit that one word to the rest of the meaning with the rest of the meaning. So that makes it more realistic to you. Familiarize yourself with difficult passages. Again, this is crucial. If you think that there are passages, you can find three different difficulty levels: simple, medium, and hard. Always, I would recommend you to go with the most difficult passage and do a lot of medium and hard questions, because that is what will actually come in the test. Simple passages rarely happen, rarely occur. So, difficult passages are important to be practiced. Work on your grammar. You could ask me, why do you want me to work on grammar? Well, the reason is because if you see, this helps you with quick reading. So, if you see a particular sentence, the first half of the sentence could be the actual topic, and the rest of the sentence could be just a completion based on your grammar, just to complete the sentence. When you have proper grammar, you will understand that if you read the first half of the sentence, the second half is automatically understood, in case if it's just a grammatical based sentences. So, developing on your grammar is important. Again, developing on your vocabulary, because that relates to point two. If you don't understand every word, that's because you don't have strong vocabulary skills. If you don't have strong vocab. Okay, develop speed reading skills. If you work on your grammar, you can read it quickly because you know what the other sentence is, so you don't have to read it word by word. Learn every question type. This is important because you should know all different types of question. You should know what are the do's and don'ts for those questions, what are the tips and strategies to ace those questions. If you know these, you have then mastered the reading task. Develop skimming and scanning skills. If you don't know what is skimming, skimming is a technique where you just read the passage quickly to get the gist of the passage. Scanning is when you just have to find a particular answer and make it right. Okay, you skim for understanding the meaning, and you scan a particular word or a set of words. Be confident. No matter how much you practice, no matter how many times you have aced the task, if you're not confident, you can never do the test well. So be confident. Okay, now quickly getting into the yes, no, not given question types. Let's understand when it becomes a yes, when it becomes a no, and when it becomes a not given. Basically, in this question type, you have to identify what is the mood, or what is the tone, or what is the writer actually trying to convey. That is your yes, no, not given question types. Okay. So, this has a lot of facts, a lot of factual information. The facts could be in numbers, or the facts could be actually written to confuse you in words. Okay. If the fact, that is the question, matches the paragraph or the synonym of it is given, then it is a yes. If the fact contradicts or is the opposite of the information given in the paragraph, then the answer is no. If there is no information or no additional information given about that particular sentence in the passage, then it is a not reading. It's a not given question. Okay, not given type. Remember, this tests your speed reading skills. Okay. Three common problems that students have is that students think that the answer is yes if it's the opposite of what's given there. They think it's a no if exactly the same is given there. And they think it's a not given, which is more like false or no. So they say not given is more like no. So which is like the actually given or not given, or they get confused between yes and not given. So it's a yes if it matches, it's a no if the opposite is given, it's a not given if you don't find any additional information. As simple as that. Okay, so these are the three things which I've quickly summed up for you. Now, to answer the true false not given or the yes no not given type of a question, I want you to first fully read the question. Firstly, what it requires you to do is something you have to read first. Then start underlining. First, read the question always. Start underlining any keywords from each of the sentences that you see. Okay, once you do this, Remember, these questions can follow, like the sentences given when you're trying to find one paragraph, you can find the second in the second paragraph because most of the times it might follow a chronological order. Okay, then, but you should be extremely careful about the synonym words which could have been used or tricky words such as many, some, occasionally, and so on. Okay, each of these has its own meaning, so you have to be extremely careful about it. Also, do not waste too much time on one question. If you cannot find the answer, just move on to the next. Just guess and move on to the next because 1 in 3 chance is that it could be correct. If you think, no, I have to get this question right and I cannot afford to miss it because I'm looking for 40 on 40 for a band 9, I would highly recommend you to leave that question, do other questions. You can even do the last question first. By the time you do 2 or 3 questions, you would have already understood the context of the actual reading paragraph. So you know what they're looking out for. That will automatically push you to the right answer. If you have done everything else right, you will then find this automatically correct. Okay, that's easy. Now, again, in terms of the strategies, the questions will follow the order of the text in most cases. Okay, read the question carefully and fully understand what it says in the question, the sentence. Now highlight the words or underline the words that I tell you you can underline. Then scan for those particular words, go back to the passage, find those keywords, put them in there in the reading passage and quickly find for it. Once you actually identify where the passage is, then read it to find any synonyms of that or the actual words inside it. And then you can start marking if it's a true, false, not given, or a yes, no, not given, if the writer agrees, what is his view. Also, look out for any major controlling words that plays a trick, which is only. Here it would have been only, but there it would have been given all, or they would have given major, minor, major, all. Those are trick words. You have to be very careful to see what if it makes sense. Okay. I don't want you to spend time looking at just one question. If it's not given, it's not given. You cannot find it. Make sure you use the correct code, that is yes, no, not given, because sometimes they look for your opinions rather than facts. Sometimes instead of doing a true, false, not given, you write a yes, no, not given. They will penalize you for it. You will not get marks. If it's yes, no, not given, do it. If it's true, false, not given, do it. So recheck that again and again. Okay. So that's how you do that. So here is a typical example of how your questions might look. So this is one question that I wanted to show you guys. So it's Richard the Lionheart. So, and these are questions. So to be very practical here, let's read the questions first. Just read the topic and see what it is, how many paragraphs, and go to the question. Do the following statements match information in the passage? Decide yes, no, not given for the following statements. Now I'm taking a look at the question. Richard did not live in England while he was a king. He was a king. The people had to pay King Richard a lot of tax. John was a better king than Richard. John was not successful at war. So, firstly, there are names of people, which can be easy to understand, and there are names of countries. And in the first sentence, I would say Richard did not live in England while he was a king. So, Richard, England, king. These are my top 3 keywords. The people had to pay King Richard a lot of tax. King Richard, because you have to know who's that. So, King Richard, people had to pay a lot of tax. So, King Richard tax, or you can say a lot of tax. Instead, it would have been given, you know, there were not many tax benefits. Instead of saying they had to pay a lot of tax, they would say there were not many tax benefits for people, or their money was all, going out, or they were spending way too much. So the synonyms of this particular phrase would be given in the question. So you have to be very careful. John was better. So John, better king. Okay, John not successful at war. So you can say instead he failed at war, or he failed miserably, or anything of that sort. So you just have to go back here, find those particular keywords. John became king. Okay, that is one thing. He kept losing battles. So you have to say John was not successful at war. This could be section B. Sorry, it's a yes, no, not given. Sorry. So so John was not successful at war. It should be a yes, because it says John continued to fight, but he kept losing the battles. Not successful, kept losing the battle. This itself is a clear synonym which is given. So you just have to be very careful. Do this in the way in which I've told you. Look for synonyms, look for keywords that trick, and I'm sure you will find this as a success. All right, so here are a few questions that I've done. You can take these questions actually from the you can find this from the IELTS official textbook. And I hope this session was helpful. This gave you some insights into how you can do identifying writers' views or claims, which is yes, no, not given questions. If you are really interested, I would highly recommend you to hop on to our Unacademy Plus, where in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to dive deep into the same topic, which is yes, no, not given on academic reading. And I'm going to start. I would recommend all of you to join this and subscribe and get the Unacademy Plus, and I will see you there in the next 30 minutes. If you like this video, I would highly recommend you to like this video, share, and subscribe to Unacademy IELTS live YouTube channel. I have another session tomorrow, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you so much.